Hi there, Sandra here from createinspain, and today I am going to be decorating a mug. Now, I've done this before, but I think there's a better way, put it this way. So this particular time I'm going to be painting on my mug with acrylic paints. They are not overly special acrylic paints, other than the fact that I'm going for some pearlized colours. These, in fact, are the Lumiere by Jacquard. So a whole set of those. I think it's 9 colours. Yeah, 9 colours. And I've had them for a little while, but I thought they would be a fun thing to do on a mug. So I've got a nice new mug, and I'm going to clean it off with some alcohol. Now, before you switch off, I'm going to do something a little different to what you might have seen either myself, well certainly myself, or indeed others doing when they are painting on mugs. And I'll tell you what that is in a second, but I do need to make sure that there's no grease hanging around on this mug, because otherwise things won't work. Now, because I am right-handed, as in fact are most of the people that I know, not all, but most, I'm going to be putting my design on this side of the mug. So you need to make sure that it's on the right side for you, whether you're right-handed or left-handed. Now, I have a design here which I've done, and I've cut it out on my cutter, and I want to place it on here. Now, obviously, I need to put something on top of this in order to be able to transfer it. So I just used standard cheapy book covering plastic. Now the snag is that I've already got gloves on. I probably can't do it with gloves on, so I think I'm going to have to take my gloves off at the moment, or at least one of them. Just trying to separate this from its backing is bad enough without trying to do it with latex gloves on. So let's see if I can separate this. So this is simply to transfer my design to my mug, and just lay it down on top, like so, and press it down. Now, because this vinyl piece is all one piece, I've weeded it already, and there's only the one piece of vinyl there. It should be relatively straightforward to take the backing paper off of my vinyl, just leaving my design behind. Here we go, here's a corner. So that's nice and easy. I need to line it up wherever I want it to be. So my mug's got a slight fault there, and that's not going to be a problem. And that's going to have to come up because I've got a wrinkle there. Definitely don't want any wrinkles. So smooth it as you put it down if you can. There we are. That should do the job. You can have wrinkles in the edges, you just don't want any wrinkles around the design itself. Now, this particular vinyl is a decent quality vinyl. It's got a decent adhesive on it. In fact, it would be hand washable if I just put the vinyl on it. But what I want at the end of the day is a mug I can put in the dishwasher and know that the design is going to stay there. So I'm going to go through a few little extra steps. Now, take off the transfer tape, leaving the vinyl behind. So I have my design on there. And according to the blurb, this only takes a couple of minutes. And I'm just going to put a little bit out, like that. I don't know how much of this it's going to take. You are supposed to put... Okay, so the good news is that that has definitely very nicely taken the glaze off of the mug where that stencil is. I can tell there's absolutely no shine on that whatsoever. Now, I wanted you to be able to see the result that the etching has made, and it's etched it beautifully. You couldn't easily tell that with the stencil still in place, so I figured if I took the stencil off I could at least show you the effect of the etching. You should be able to see it. It's actually very subtle. I mean, you wouldn't realise there's a pattern on that glass until certain light hit it. And that in itself is actually rather nice. So I'm just going to sponge some paint on here. So if you're not particularly dexterous, sometimes it is a good idea to have someone else hold the mug for you while you do this. And there we have my mug design. So I'm going to let that dry. I think that's rather nice. So this time I have a black mug, but I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this. Give it a couple of minutes when it's actually finished. This time I'm not going to give it 5 minutes. I'll just give it the 2 that it says to give it and check to see that that actually is realistic. So after the 2 minutes I rinsed it off, and I can honestly say that that is perfectly matte. There is no glaze under there, but I'm not going to take this one off because it's too difficult to line it back up again. There we go. That is actually really, really nice. There's little hints of different colours in there. That's so pretty. Okay, so if I've got any excess splashing to clean up, I will clean that up before it goes in the oven. I'm going to leave them to dry for a while, and then I'm going to oven set them both. This is a mug which I did after I finished filming yesterday, because this filming's been done in a couple of parts. I used the etching cream on this one without putting any paint on it, and you can more clearly see the etched effect, which I think is really pretty, and it's very, very subtle, and there's nothing to stop you from painting over that again at a later point if you want to. So the etching effect is permanent. It takes away the glaze on the mug or the glass. If you're using glasses, it will make it frosted. And yeah, it's a very pretty effect. I rather like it. So the other mugs that I did yesterday, this is the first black one that I've done with this method. And this is really, really nice. And this is the one that I did in the multicolour, and again, I really like the look of it. Now, they were painted with Jacquard Lumiere paints, which I literally just sponged on. Easy enough to do. These paints can be used in an airbrush if you thin them down, but I didn't thin them down, didn't use the airbrush, just sponged them on, and it only takes a couple of minutes. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, you have to make sure you remove your stencil while the paint is still wet, because if you don't, it forms a skin and it's likely to come off with the stencil. So, even if you're airbrushing, it will do the same thing. I found that out as well. If you're unfortunate enough to get your airbrush clogged, like I did yesterday, and then it takes you a while to get the paint done, by the time it's done, it's dried off too much, formed a skin, and basically I pulled off the stencil and that didn't work too well. So with these mugs, this one I left as is. Remember, it was etched underneath and then painted without removing the stencil. Really easy to do, no aggravation at all, just takes an extra 2 minutes, well 4 minutes if you count painting on the etching cream. 2 minutes for the etching cream to work, brilliant, no problem. This one, and I don't know if it shows up very clearly, I decided in the end I would coat it with the Cadence porcelain and napkin medium, because this is supposed to be dishwasher safe. Now what it says is to apply it, and I would assume in a thin layer because you don't want to put thick layers on things, let it dry, and it does dry quite quickly. It hasn't got a strong smell. It smells to me like acrylic paint, so I'm guessing it's some kind of acrylic based thing. It is water based. I brushed it on, allowed it to dry. That took only a few minutes. And then last night before I went to bed, I put both these mugs in the oven at 130 degrees. I took the instructions from the Cadence napkin stuff. It says 130 degrees for 90 minutes, which seems like a heck of a long time, and it is. But that's what I did. I thought, well, I will try it on exactly what it said for me to do. So I took them out of the oven, allowed them to cool down, and then this morning, first thing this morning, I put them through the dishwasher, top rack. But my dishwasher was on a 65 degree, that's 65 Celsius degree, 1 hour wash. And they have both come out with absolutely no damage whatsoever. They look exactly like they did when they went in, which is brilliant. So because they've come out in the same way, they've both worked, I wouldn't choose to put the napkin stuff on top. It goes kind of matte and you can see brush marks. However, if you are in the habit of using Mod Podge dishwasher formula, it could well be that this will be an alternative for you if you can actually get it. Because with this one, you do not have to cure it for 28 days first. You don't. It says nothing about leaving it to cure, just allow it to dry and then bake. And the idea of this stuff is that you can actually put napkins on your mugs and things like that, which would be a good thing to do. I just don't have any really highly decorative napkins at the moment to actually test it on. But yes, the mugs have worked. Now, whether this will stay on for months, years, or whatever is anyone's guess. But generally speaking, I have found that if you do get a problem with painting on surfaces, it will come off during the first wash. That's generally what I have found. The proviso is when you take it out of the dishwasher, don't rub it while it's hot. Don't rub it to see if it's worked because it probably could damage it at that particular time because everything will be soft due to the heat. But as long as you just take it out and allow it to cool down before using it, I don't see that there's likely to be a problem. So if you want to do decorative stenciling or other designs, in fact, on your mugs, I suggest using the Etching Cream first. Just in case you've been video skipping, this is the Etching Cream that I used. It's from a company called Cadence or Cadence, depending on how you like to say it. And it's Magic Glass, and it's a cream for etching. It says Etching Cream there. Okay, so it comes out as it looks, pale blue, so you can see it. It is actually the best etching cream of 3 different ones that I have used. This works in 2 minutes, so that's pretty good. And I did test it out at the 2 minutes, and it did actually etch in 2 minutes. Goes on easily, very simple to use, wash it off with water, no problem. So that's it. That is my take on how to get your painted designs on your mugs.